The stars looked different through the viewing port of the new Sol. Captain Seung-woo Lee had seen many stars in his 40 years, but these were the first he had seen from outside the solar system. 3 months ago, humanity had cracked faster than light travel. Today they were about to meet aliens for the first time. Captain, we're getting a response to our signal, said Communications Officer Hae-won Park. Her voice was steady, but Seung-woo could see her hands shaking slightly. Everyone on the ship was nervous. They were making history. Put it through, Seung-woo said. He straightened his uniform and tried to look confident. Behind him, Ambassador Tae-ho Kim stepped forward. Tae-ho was a thin man with sharp eyes who had spent 20 years in the military before becoming a diplomat. If anyone could handle first contact, it was him. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that was definitely not human. The alien had 4 arms, purple skin, and eyes that looked like black marbles. When it spoke, the translation software turned its words into Korean. Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Council Speaker Zethkari. We have been waiting for you to develop space travel. Please follow our ships to Station Harmony. The Galactic Council wishes to meet you. Tae-ho stepped forward and bowed slightly. We are honored by your invitation. I am Ambassador Tae-ho Kim, representing Earth and humanity. The alien's face did something that might have been a smile. Follow us, Ambassador Kim. History awaits. 2 hours later, the new Sol docked at Station Harmony. Seung-woo had seen pictures of space stations in movies, but nothing had prepared him for this. The station was massive, stretching out in all directions like a metal city floating in space. Ships of dozens of different designs flew around it. Like insects around a hive, the human delegation walked through the airlock and onto the station. The corridor was huge, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. Aliens of every shape and size walked past them. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had 6 legs or wings or skin that glowed. A few looked almost human, but with strange colors or extra eyes. Stay close and stay calm, Tae-ho whispered to the group. Besides himself, the human delegation included Dr. Mira Park, the ship's chief scientist and xenobiologist, Lieutenant Colonel Jin-woo Nam from the military, and 3 other specialists. Mira was staring at everything with wide eyes. She had studied alien life for years, but seeing it in person was different. Look at the diversity, she whispered. Each species must have evolved on completely different worlds. Their alien guide led them through the station toward the council chambers. The corridor was filled with the sounds of dozens of different languages. The air smelled strange, like metal and ozone, with hints of things they couldn't identify. The council has 47 member species, their guide explained. As they walked, each species sends representatives. We have maintained peace for over 3,000 of your years. 3,000 years? Tae-ho asked. That's impressive. How do you maintain peace between so many different species? Through understanding and cooperation, the guide said. Also, most species learn quickly that war is costly and unnecessary. They entered a vast chamber that looked like an amphitheater. Hundreds of aliens sat in curved rows, all facing a central platform. The variety was overwhelming. Some aliens were tiny, no bigger than house cats. Others were huge, taking up multiple seats. Some floated in the air, while others needed special equipment to breathe. Please take your seats, the guide said, pointing to a section marked with Earth symbol . As the humans sat down, Tae-ho noticed that many of the aliens were staring at them. Some looked curious. Others seemed bored, as if they had seen this many times before. A few looked almost dismissive, like they were thinking the humans were just another primitive species. Council Speaker Zethkari stood up on the central platform. We welcome the humans of Earth to this gathering. As is tradition, we will hear your petition for membership in the Galactic Council. Tae-ho stood up and walked to the platform. He had prepared his speech during the journey, but standing in front of hundreds of alien beings made his mouth feel dry. Honored council members, he began, humanity comes before you seeking not just membership, but partnership. We bring our knowledge, our skills, and our commitment to peace. He was halfway through his speech when the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber, and a voice spoke in dozens of languages at once. The translation system made it into Korean. Emergency. All beings proceed to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill, chaos erupted in the chamber. Aliens jumped up from their seats and rushed toward the exits. Some of the smaller species were being trampled by larger ones. Many were screaming in languages the humans couldn't understand. What's happening? Mira shouted over the noise. Their guide was backing toward an exit, its 4 arms waving frantically. Vorthan attack. Ships, they're bombing the station. Everyone must evacuate. But the humans didn't move toward the exits. Instead, Taeho looked around at the panicking aliens and made a decision that would change everything. Jinwoo, he called to the lieutenant colonel. Can you organize a defense? Jinwoo nodded grimly. Yes, sir. But we'll need weapons and a better understanding of the station layout. Mira, can you help coordinate evacuations? Your xenobiology knowledge might help us understand which species need special assistance. Mira was already moving toward a group of small, bird-like aliens who were being pushed aside by larger species. On it, Sungwoo's voice came through. They're communicators. The new soul is ready to help. What do you need? Get ready for combat, Captain, Taeho said. And prepare for refugees. What happened next would be talked about in council records for centuries. While other species fled to safety or cowered in shelters, the humans did something no one expected. They stayed and fought. Jin-Woo found the station's emergency armory and began distributing weapons to any alien who would take them. Taeho organized evacuation routes, making sure the weakest species got to safety first. Mira used her knowledge to help aliens who needed special environments or care. The Vorthan attackers had expected an easy target. They had expected panic and chaos. They had not expected a small group of humans to turn a terrified space station into an organized resistance. Within an hour, the attack was over. The Vorthans retreated, their ships damaged and their supplies lost. The station was saved, and thousands of lives had been preserved. In the aftermath, as emergency crews worked to repair the damage, the aliens of the Galactic Council looked at the humans with new eyes. These weren't just another primitive species seeking membership. These were something different, something dangerous, something that would change everything. Council Speaker Zethkari found Taeho in the medical bay, where he was helping treat wounded aliens. Ambassador Kim, the alien said. Quietly, I think we need to talk. 3 days after the Vorthan attack, Du Young Choi sat in the largest library he had ever seen. The council archives stretched out in every direction, filled with the history of 47 different worlds. Floating screens showed information in dozens of languages, while alien researchers worked quietly at desks designed for their various body types. Du Young was a historian from Seoul National University. He had spent his life studying human wars and conflicts, but now he was here to help aliens understand his species. Across from him sat Veltar, the Caltharian archive keeper. Veltar looked like a giant jellyfish with tentacles that moved like fingers, and he was over 800 years old. Your species interests us greatly, Dr. Choi, Veltar said through his translator. In 3,000 years, we have never seen new members react as humans did during the attack. Du Young nodded. What exactly do you want to know? Everything, your history, your psychology, how you think. The council needs to understand what humans are before we decide on membership. Du Young opened his tablet and began sharing human history files. Where would you like me to start? The beginning, Veltar said. Tell us how humans evolved. Du Young pulled up images of early Earth. Our planet was violent. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, massive floods. Most species that lived on Earth went extinct. Humans survived because we learned to work together and adapt quickly. Veltar's tentacles moved rapidly as he took notes. Interesting, most council species evolved on stable worlds. Continue. Humans are unusual because we're both predators and prey. Du Young explained. We hunted animals for food, but we were also hunted by larger predators. This made us develop 2 different sets of behaviors. What do you mean? Veltar asked. When we hunt, we're patient, smart, and ruthless. We can track prey for days and plan complex attacks. But when we're threatened, we form groups and protect each other. We'll fight to the death to save our families and friends. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Choi, I must ask you something important. In our research, we have found that every other species in the galaxy evolved as either predators or prey animals, never both. Are you certain humans are both? Du Young laughed. Very certain. It's why human history is so violent, but also why we form such strong bonds with each other. On the other side of the station, military analyst Haijin Yoon was having a very different conversation. She sat in a secure room with Council Military Commander Thexlon, a large reptilian alien with scales like armor. Show me human warfare, Thexlon demanded. His voice was deep and threatening. Haijin had been prepared for this. She pulled up historical battle footage on the room screens. This is from our Second World War, about 400 years ago. Thexlon watched as human armies fought across Earth. He saw tanks rolling across fields, planes fighting in the sky, and soldiers charging through enemy fire. But what caught his attention was something else. Why do your soldiers keep going back for wounded comrades? He asked. It's tactically unsound. They risk more lives to save those who might die anyway? Because we don't leave people behind, Hyjin said simply. It's not about tactics. It's about who we are. Bexlan's eyes narrowed. Show me more. Hyjin showed him footage from the Korean War where soldiers held positions against impossible odds. She showed him videos of firefighters running into burning buildings, of Coast Guards rescuing people from sinking ships, of civilians forming human chains to save strangers from floods. Your species deliberately puts itself in danger to save others, Bexlan said. Even non-family members, even strangers. This is unusual. How do other species handle emergencies? Hyjin asked. Most species have strong family bonds, but they prioritize survival above all else. If a situation is too dangerous, they retreat and let the trained professionals handle it. Your species seems to think every human is a trained professional, Hyjin smiled. In a way, we are. Every human learns basic first aid, basic fighting, basic survival skills. We teach our children to help others and to never give up. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Mira Park was making discoveries that would shake the council to its core. She was working with Dr. Yathara, a spider-like alien who was the station's chief xenobiologist. I've never seen anything like human brain chemistry, Dr. Yathara said, studying Mira's brain scans. Your stress responses are completely different from other species. How so? Mira asked. When most species face danger, their brains flood with chemicals that make them afraid or angry. Fear makes them run away. Anger makes them fight, but only for themselves or their immediate family. Dr. Yathara pointed to areas on the brain scan. But human brains do something else. When you see others in danger, you get a chemical surge. That makes you want to help them. Your brains are literally wired to protect strangers. Mira looked at the data with growing amazement. You're saying humans are biologically programmed to be protective? More than that. Your species seems to have evolved a chemical reward system for helping others, even at personal cost? When you save someone, your brain gives you the same feeling that other species get from eating or mating. That evening, the three human researchers met in their quarters to share what they had learned. Du Young spoke first. They're scared of us, he said bluntly. Not because we're aggressive, but because we're unpredictable. Most species follow logical patterns. They protect family first, tribe second, strangers last. We protect everyone equally. Hyjin nodded. The military commander showed me battle records from other species. When they fight, it's usually over. Resources or territory. They fight until one side wins or loses, then they stop. But human wars... She paused. Human wars don't end until we achieve our goals, no matter how long it takes or what it costs. Mira shared her medical findings. It gets worse. We're literally addicted to helping others. Our brains reward us for saving people, even strangers. Other species can't understand why we would risk our lives for aliens we just met. Du Young pulled up more historical data. I've been looking at council records. In 3,000 years, they've never had a species join that was willing to die for strangers. Most species barely fight for their own families. What does this mean for our membership application? Hyjin asked. Before anyone could answer, their door chimed. Ambassador Taeho Kim entered, looking tired but determined. We need to talk, he said. I just finished a long meeting with the council leadership. They've made a decision about humanity. What kind of decision? Mira asked. Taeho sat down heavily. They want to test us. They're going to create a scenario to see how humans really behave under pressure. If we pass, we get membership. If we fail... If we fail? Du Young prompted. If we fail, they're going to quarantine Earth. They think humans might be too dangerous to let spread across the galaxy. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's future among the stars depended on a test designed by aliens. Who couldn't understand why humans would risk everything to save strangers? What kind of test? Hyjin asked quietly. Taeho's expression was grim, the kind that's designed to be impossible to pass. Outside their window, the stars continued to shine, unaware that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The aliens thought they understood what humans were, but they were about to learn something that would change the galaxy forever. The test facility was built inside an asteroid, hidden far from any trade routes. Lieutenant Colonel Jinwoo Nam stood in the briefing room with 11 other humans, looking at a holographic map of what the council called a training scenario. Jinwoo had run enough military exercises to know this was no training. This was a test designed to break them. The situation is simple, said Council Observer Krelthek, a tall alien with gray skin and too many joints in his arms. 42 civilian researchers from 6 different species are trapped in a research facility on this planet. The facility is damaged and losing life support. You have 6 hours to rescue them. Engineer So Young Kong raised her hand. What's the complication? Krelthek's mouth did something that might have been a smile. The planet is inhabited by hostile aliens who view any intruders as enemies. They have advanced weapons and know the terrain. They will hunt you from the moment you land. Medic Hyan-Sik Bey looked at the medical readouts. Some of these trapped? Civilians need special atmospheric conditions to survive. How are we supposed to transport them? You'll have to figure that out, Krelthek said. You have basic equipment and 1 transport ship, nothing more. Jinwoo studied the map carefully. The research facility was in a canyon surrounded by high cliffs. There were only 2 ways in, and both were easily defended. The hostile aliens had weapons that could shoot down aircraft, so flying in wasn't an option. On paper, it was impossible. When do we start? Jinwoo asked. Now, Krelthek said 2 hours later. Jinwoo's team was on the planet's surface. The air was thin and smelled like sulfur. Strange purple plants grew between black rocks, and the sky was an ugly yellow color. In the distance, they could see smoke rising from the research facility. Time check, Jinwoo said into his communicator. 4 hours and 18 minutes remaining. The team moved quickly through the alien landscape. Besides Jinwoo, So Young, and Hyan-Sik, there were 9 other specialists: communications expert Sang-Min Lee, explosive specialist Yoon-hee Jo, pilot Min-ho Park, and 6 soldiers trained in different combat roles. Contact ahead, whispered Sergeant Da-Yoon Kim, who was scouting in front. 4 hostiles with energy weapons, blocking the main path. Jinwoo crept forward to look. The hostile aliens looked like giant insects with 4 arms each. They had positioned themselves behind rocks and were scanning the area with weapons that glowed with blue energy. So Young, can you create a distraction? Jinwoo asked. So Young was already working on something. She had taken apart 2 pieces of their equipment and was connecting them in a way that definitely wasn't in the manual. Give me 3 minutes. Hyan-Sik, how long do we have before the civilians start dying? Hyan-Sik checked his medical scanner. Based on their species requirements, the first deaths will happen in 2 hours. After that, we'll lose 1 civilian every 15 minutes. Jinwoo made his decision. We split up. Team Alpha takes the main path after So Young's distraction. Team Beta goes around the long way and hits them from behind. We take these 4 quickly and quietly. The plan worked perfectly. So Young's improvised device created a small explosion on the other side of the valley, drawing the hostiles' attention. Team Beta moved in from behind while Team Alpha charged from the front. The battle lasted 30 seconds. Hostile weapons secured, reported Corporal Jin Ho Yoon. These energy weapons are more advanced than ours? Can we use them? Jinwoo asked. So Young picked up one of the alien weapons and examined it. Give me 5 minutes to figure out the firing mechanism. They pressed forward, moving faster now. That they had better weapons? But the closer they got to the research facility, the more hostiles they encountered. And the scenarios got worse. Jinwoo called Sang-Min from his position monitoring communications. I'm picking up transmissions from the facility. One of the civilians is a child. What species? Zephyrian. She's only 8 years old in their development cycle. She's scared and calling for her parents. Jinwoo felt something cold settle in his stomach. The council had put a child in danger to test them. Can you patch her through? A small voice came through their communicators, translated into Korean. Is someone coming for us? I'm scared. The building is making loud noises and some of the grown-ups aren't moving anymore. Hyan-Sik closed his eyes. 3 civilians are already dead. The life support is failing faster than predicted. How much time do we really have? Jinwoo asked. Maybe 90 minutes before we start losing them rapidly. Jinwoo looked at his team. They were tired, some were wounded, and they were still 2 kilometers from the facility. The smart thing to do would be to retreat and try again with a different approach. But none of them were thinking about retreating. New plan, Jinwoo said. We go fast and loud, no more stealth. Sir, that's suicide, said Sergeant Dunn. There are too many hostiles between us and the facility. Then we go through them, Jinwoo said simply. What happened next would be studied by military analysts across the galaxy for centuries. The humans stopped trying to avoid the hostile aliens and instead began hunting them. They moved through the canyon like a pack of wolves, using tactics that no other species had ever seen. When So Young was hit by an energy blast and went down with a broken leg, the team didn't retreat. Instead, they became more aggressive. Hyan-Sik set up a mobile medical station to treat her while the others formed a defensive perimeter. So Young, despite her injury, kept working on modifications to their equipment. I'm not leaving, she said. When Jinwoo suggested evacuating her, That little girl needs us. So young, you're hurt, Hyun-sik said. You need proper medical attention. The kid needs us more, So Young replied, continuing to work on a device that would help them break into the facility. Besides, you're a good medic. I'll be fine. The hostile aliens had never encountered anything like human teamwork under pressure. When one human was injured, the others didn't become weaker or more cautious. They became more determined and more dangerous. Movement ahead, called Dae-yun. 20 hostiles guarding the facility entrance. Jin-woo looked at his watch. 47 minutes left. That's too many, said Corporal Jin-ho. We don't have enough ammunition. So Young looked up from her work. I've got something better than ammunition. She had somehow turned their mining charges into something much more powerful. This will take out their defensive positions, but we'll have to get close. How close? Jin-woo asked. Close enough that we'll be in the blast radius. The team looked at each other. They all knew what that meant. Some of them might not survive. But 42 civilians were counting on them, including a frightened 8-year-old girl. Do it, Jin-woo said. The final assault on the research facility was brutal and precise. The humans charged through the hostile defenses like they were made of paper. They rescued every single civilian, including the Zephyrian child, who clung to Hyun-sik as he carried her to safety. When it was over, when all 42 civilians were safe and accounted for, the humans sat in their transport ship, exhausted and wounded but alive. So Young's leg was in a medical cast, but she was already working on improvements to their equipment. Congratulations, came Krelthaka's voice over the communicator. You have completed the test. What now? Jin-woo asked. There was a long pause. Now the council must decide what to do with a species that considers suicide missions to be standard operating procedure. Through the transport ship's window, they could see council observer ships watching them. Jin-woo wondered what the aliens were thinking as they watched humans who had risked everything to save strangers, including a child they had never met. Whatever the council decided, Jin-woo knew one thing for certain: humans would never change who they were, not even to join a galactic civilization. They would always run toward danger when someone needed help, no matter what the cost. The council chamber was more crowded than it had been in centuries. Representatives from all 47 member species had come to vote on humanity's future. Some had traveled for weeks just to be here. Ambassador Yoon Ji-han sat in the human section, trying to look calm while her heart pounded in her chest. Beside her sat cultural attaché Young Hee-shin, who had spent the last month helping aliens understand human behavior. Young Hee had answered thousands of questions about why humans acted the way they did. Most of the time, her answers seemed to make the aliens more confused, not less. The vote will begin shortly, announced Council Speaker Zethkari from the central platform. Each species will state their position on human membership. Eunji watched as the first species representative stood up. It was a tall, thin alien with silver skin called a Meridian. The Meridian collective votes against human membership. Humans are too unpredictable. Their behavior patterns suggest they could destabilize galactic peace. The next speaker was a floating jellyfish-like creature. The Aquatic Alliance also votes against. Humans show excessive emotional responses to danger. This makes them unreliable partners. One by one, species after species voted against humanity. The reasons were always the same. Humans were too emotional, too violent, too willing to take risks. Yoonji felt her stomach sinking with each negative vote. Then a different voice spoke up. It was deep and rumbling, coming from a massive, rock-like alien called a Granite Lord. The Stone Confederation votes in favor of human membership. During the Vorthan attack, a human medic named Hyun-sik Bae saved my daughter's life. He carried her to safety while the station was under fire. He did not know her. He did not know me. But he risked his life for her anyway. A murmur went through the chamber. Young Hee leaned over to Yoonji. That's the first positive vote we've gotten. The debate continued for hours. Some species feared humans would start wars. Others worried that human behavior would spread to other species and upset the careful balance of galactic society. A few species spoke in favor, usually because they had personal experiences with human kindness during the station attack. The current count stands at 39 against, 8 in favor, announced Zethkari. We need a 2/3 majority to approve membership. Humanity appears to have failed this vote. Eunji closed her eyes. Humanity had come so far, only to be rejected by beings who couldn't understand that protecting others was what made humans strong, not weak. That's when the alarm started ringing again. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber, and the same emergency voice from 3 weeks ago filled the air. Emergency alert! Unknown fleet approaching the Harmony system. All ships prepare for possible hostile contact. Unji's communicator buzzed. It was Admiral Jamin-O from the human fleet. Yunji, we're detecting massive energy signatures. Someone's coming and they're not using any known council technology? On the chamber's main screen, images appeared from the outer detection stations. Hundreds of dark ships were approaching, their hulls black as space itself. They moved in perfect formation like a swarm of predators. Vorthan Empire ships, someone called out. But that's impossible. We defeated their main fleet months ago. Council Speaker Zethkari's voice was shaking. How many ships? Over 800, came the reply from the station's sensors. They're using some kind of stealth technology we've never seen before. They were almost on top of us before we detected them. Panic began spreading through the chamber again. Representatives started moving toward the exits, just like during the first attack. But this time, something was different. Wait, called Admiral Jamin's voice over the communicators. I'm reading the energy signatures on these ships. This isn't the same Vorthan technology we faced before. This is something new. Something much more advanced. Young He was studying the ship formations on her tablet. Look at how they're moving. No species in the council flies in patterns like that. It's like they're thinking as one mind. Unji stood up as chaos erupted around her. Admiral O, what's the status of our ships? We have 12 human vessels in the system. The council has over 300 ships, but they're scattered across dozens of planets. Most can't get here for hours. Can we fight 800 ships with 12? Unji asked. There was a pause. Normally? No, but these aren't normal circumstances. On the main screen, they could see the approaching fleet more clearly now. The ships were sleek and deadly looking, moving with precision that seemed impossible. But Jamin had been studying something else. Unji, I've been analyzing their movement patterns for the last 10 minutes. I think I know what they're planning. What? They're not here for a straight fight? Look at their formation. They're setting up to surround the system and cut off all escape routes. Then they'll move in slowly and destroy everything. It's a hunting pattern, Young He looked up from her tablet. Just like the tactics humans used when hunting large animals on Earth thousands of years ago. Exactly, Jamin said. But there's something else. I think I know how to beat them. The council chamber had mostly emptied by now, with only a few dozen aliens still present. Most were too scared to move, while others were frantically trying to contact their home planets. EU Unji activated the chamber's communication system. This is Ambassador Han speaking to all council ships in the system. Admiral O has a plan to defeat the incoming fleet. We need immediate coordination. A voice came back, shaking with fear. Ambassador, you have 12 ships. They have 800. There is no plan that can work. Admiral, tell them, Yunji said. Jamin's voice filled the chamber. The enemy is using pack hunting tactics, but they're making the same mistake that many Earth predators made when hunting humans. They think we're prey. What do you mean? Asked the council military coordinator. They're surrounding us to prevent escape. But humans don't try to escape when something threatens our home. We fight, and when we fight, we don't fight to survive. We fight to win. The plan that Jamin explained was insane. Instead of trying to defend against 800 ships, the human fleet would attack, but not the way the enemy expected. They would use the enemy's own hunting formation against them. The Vorthan ships are spread out in a wide circle to surround. U.S. Jamin explained. That means they're weakest at specific points. We hit those points hard and fast, then use their own ships as cover to attack the next group. That's suicide, said a council admiral. Even if you break through one section, the other ships will surround you. Not if we move fast enough. Jamin replied. Humans have been fighting larger, stronger predators for millions of years. We know how to use speed and intelligence to beat strength. Young He was watching the alien representatives still in the chamber. Most looked terrified, but a few were listening to the human plan with growing interest. Will this work? Asked the Granite Lord who had voted for humanity earlier. Honestly? Jamin said, probably not. We'll likely all die. But we'll take a lot of them with us, and maybe buy enough time for council reinforcements to arrive and save the civilians. There was silence in the chamber. Then slowly, other voices began joining the communication network. This is Captain Dick Aran of the Meridian ship Silver Dawn. We'll fight with you. Aquatic Alliance ship Deep Current requesting to join human formation. Stone Confederation vessel Mountain's Heart ready to follow human tactical command. One by one, the scattered council ships in the system began volunteering to follow human leadership into what everyone knew was likely a suicide mission. Yunji felt tears in her eyes as she listened to aliens who had voted against humanity just Hours ago, now volunteering to die alongside human crews to protect strangers. Admiral, she said quietly, make us proud. Yes, ma'am, came Jamin's reply. Human fleet and Allied vessels, this is Admiral O. Today we show the galaxy what happens. When you threaten our home, all ships, attack formation. Let's hunt some hunters. As the human-led fleet moved out to face impossible odds, the few remaining aliens in the council chamber watched in stunned silence. They were witnessing something that had never happened before in galactic history, an entire mixed-species fleet, following human tactics into a battle they couldn't win, simply because humans had convinced them it was the right thing to do. The battle was over, but Chang Ho Seo could still see the wreckage floating in space through his office window. Pieces of Vorthan ships drifted slowly past Station Harmony like metal snow. 3 days had passed since Admiral Jamin O's impossible plan had worked, and Chang Ho was still trying to understand how they had survived. The human fleet had lost 4 ships and 93 crew members. The Allied Council ships had lost twice as many. But somehow, against 800 enemy vessels, they had won. The Vorthan fleet was completely destroyed, and their threat to the galaxy was finally ended. Chang Ho was now the first human representative to the Galactic Council. The vote that had been interrupted by the attack had never resumed. Instead, something unprecedented had happened. A soft chime indicated someone was at his door. Come in, he called. Na Young Kim entered, carrying a stack of data tablets. As the new head of human-alien cooperation, she had been working non-stop to process requests from dozens of species who wanted to learn human tactics, human medicine, and human cooperation methods. The council wants to see you, Na Young said. All of them. Every species representative is going to be there. What's this about? Chang Ho asked, though he suspected he knew. The decree, Na Young said simply. They've made their decision about humanity. Chang Ho had heard rumors about what the council was planning, but he hadn't believed them. The story seemed too strange, too unprecedented for a government that had operated the same way for 3,000 years. They walked through the station corridors toward the council chamber. Chang Ho noticed that aliens looked at him differently. Now, before the battle, their expressions had been curious or worried. Now they looked at him with something that might have been respect or maybe fear. He wasn't sure which was worse. Have you talked to Admiral O today? Na Young asked as they walked this morning. He's still trying to understand how we won. He says the tactical analysis doesn't make sense. What do you mean? Chang Ho paused at a viewing window where they could see the salvage crews working. The Vorthan ships were more advanced than ours. They had better weapons, better shields, better everything. By all logical calculations, they should have destroyed us in the first 10 minutes. But they didn't. No, they didn't. And Jamin thinks he knows why. Na Young waited for him to continue. The Vorthans were using perfect military tactics. They followed their training exactly, used proven strategies, did everything by the book. But humans don't fight by the book, we fight by instinct. They entered the council chamber to find it packed with representatives from every member species. But this time something was different. Instead of sitting in their usual separate sections, many of the aliens were sitting together in mixed groups. Chang Ho saw a Granite Lord sitting next to a Meridian, while an Aquatic Alliance member was sharing data with a KELTHARIAN. Council speaker Zethkari stood on the central platform, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood representatives from 20 other species, including some who had voted against humanity just days ago. Chang Ho Seo of Earth, Zethkari announced. Please approach the platform. Chang Ho walked down to the center of the chamber, feeling hundreds of alien eyes watching him. He stopped in front of the platform and waited. 3 days ago, Zethkari began, the Galactic Council was preparing to vote on human membership. The preliminary vote was negative. Humanity was going to be denied entry into our civilization. Chang Ho nodded. He had expected this. But then something happened that changed everything. When faced with an enemy that threatened our very existence, humans did not retreat. They did not hide. They did not abandon us to save themselves. Instead, they chose to fight. Another alien stepped forward. Chang Ho recognized him as the Meridian representative who had voted against humanity. I am Council Member Velfane, the alien said. I voted against your species because I believed humans were too dangerous and unpredictable. I was correct about both of those things. You're dangerous and unpredictable, but I was wrong about what that means. Velfane paused, looking directly at Chang Ho. During the battle, I watched human Admiral O coordinate a fleet of ships from 12 different species, using tactics that none of us understood, leading us into a fight that should have killed us all. And when my ship was damaged and falling behind, A human pilot named Minho Park flew his ship between mine and the enemy, taking hits meant for me until rescue arrived. The Aquatic Alliance representative floated forward. I am Deep Singer Yolandra. I also voted against humanity. But when my life support failed during the battle, human medic Donghyun Lim spent 40 minutes in a damaged corridor, under enemy fire, jury-rigging a system to keep me alive. He had never seen my species before. He didn't know if his modifications would work, but he tried anyway. One by one, alien representatives came forward to tell similar stories. Stories of humans who had risked their lives for strangers. Stories of human ingenuity saving alien lives. Stories of human tactics and courage inspiring others to be better than they thought they could be. Finally, Zethkari raised his hand for silence. The Galactic Council has made a decision regarding humanity. But it is not the decision we originally planned to make. Chang-Ho braced himself for whatever was coming. We cannot grant humanity membership in the Galactic Council, Zethkari said. Chang-Ho felt his heart sink, but then the council speaker continued. We cannot grant you membership because membership implies equality, and what we witnessed during the battle proves that humans are not equal to other species. You are something entirely different, something unprecedented. Zethkari gestured to the other representatives around him. Therefore, the Galactic Council hereby issues the Human Protection Decree. This decree has 3 parts. The chamber fell completely silent. First, no member species of the Galactic Council may attack, harm, or threaten humans in any way. Any species that does so will face the combined military response of all 47 council members. Chang-Ho stared in shock. They were making humanity off-limits to attack. Second, humans will serve as the Council's emergency response force for existential threats to galactic civilization. When our very survival is at stake, humans will lead our response. Nai Young, who was watching from the gallery, couldn't believe what she was hearing. Third, any species that deliberately harms humans will be considered a threat to galactic peace itself and will be dealt with accordingly. Zethkari looked directly at Chang-Ho. Representative Essio, do you understand what this means? Chang-Ho was struggling to process it all. I think so, but could you explain it clearly? The Granite Lord who had first voted for humanity stepped forward. It means we're not just protecting you from other species. We're protecting you so you can protect all of us from things we can't imagine facing alone. But why? Chang-Ho asked. Why this instead of simple membership? Velthane answered. Because in 3 days, you taught 47 different species something we had never learned in 3,000 years of peace. You taught us that the strongest response to threat is not to protect yourself, but to protect others. Deep Singer. Yolandra's voice rippled with emotion. Our young are already asking to learn human cooperation methods. Our military leaders want to study human tactics. Our scientists want to understand human psychology. You're not just joining our civilization, humans, you're changing it. Zethkari raised his voice to address the entire chamber. The Human Protection Decree is now in effect. Humans are off limits. No harm shall come to them because we cannot afford to lose the species that reminds us what it means to be brave. Chang-Ho stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by aliens who had gone from fearing humanity to declaring them untouchable. Through the chamber's windows he could see human ships patrolling alongside council vessels, already working together to rebuild what the Vorthans had destroyed. But in the back of his mind, Chang-Ho remembered Admiral O's words about deep space sensors, detecting something massive approaching from beyond the galaxy's edge. Something that made the Vorthan Empire look small. Whatever was coming, the galaxy would face it together. And, when that day came, humans would be ready to do what they had always done. Run toward the danger to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The decree was more than protection. It was recognition that some things were worth preserving, not because they were safe, but because they made everyone else stronger. As the council session ended and aliens from dozens of worlds came forward to thank him personally, Chang-Ho realized that humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or explorers, but as the species that would always fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. No matter what came next, the galaxy would never be the same.